Namaste, world raisers. We are back with part number 2 of a really stunning first-person account of a modern mystic.
Beautiful fragrance to it.
And it still has, and it won't disappear. It's lying there.
And you say for us that we are not to, there it is. I'm so glad you pointed out. You put it right over there. And this is vibhuti. And for people who aren't aware of it, this is what the holy man Sai Baba
I don't do it. I hardly do it. I'm doing it for you. I just want you to know that such things are possible. But one shouldn't get too much caught up in that. You know what happens? People come to you then and they say, nobody asks you any spiritual question. They say, I have a stomachache, I have this, I have that. I get people calling me at midnight and saying, my son has loose motions. Can you stop it? I mean, is this spiritual? And I had to give them a solution. I said, use a cork.
A cork?
What do you do then? Somebody wakes you up at midnight and says, my son has loose motion, do something about it. You
Very
should go and see a doctor. Yeah.
One more question following up on what we just talked about, because recently I wasn't to the temple, I simply drove through Tirupati and I heard about it. Can you explain why the Shirdi Sai Baba's temple has become the second most popular pilgrimage site in India? Is it because of his lessons? It wasn't because of his materialization?
Mostly because of his, he never materialized, but it's mostly because of his miracles.
So the miracle, and no doubt, because I know that you've been given under order by your teacher and your teacher's teacher, 80% of Babaji's capacities, those could be done by you too well.
That's true. But my particular mode and my mission in life is not so much about these matters, but to take people genuinely into the spiritual, which is why I know that it's not easy to find hundreds of sincere spiritual seekers. At least at this point of evolution, it's not possible. But there are people like that hidden here and there. So my job is to find out. Unfortunately, I'm confessing, I haven't found a single one yet. I'm still looking. When I see young people come for the talks, I look closely. Is there this fellow anywhere around here? You know, you saw that in the retreat. There were this time lots of young people, and I was thrilled because I thought, who knows? Now they're not been put into any mold. This is the time when they can be shaped.
You say the same thing my teacher told us for many years, that there's only a handful of true devotees of the many, many, many who follow Sai Baba. One last question and I'll move on, if it's okay. Your teachers, Maheshwarnath Babaji and his teacher, the very esteemed Mahavatar Babaji, sent you home to live by example and to meet different gurus in your lifetime and holy men. Did you ever meet Sri Satya Sai Baba?
No.
Do you have any opinion?
I did. I have met him twice in Buddhapati.
Tears flowed when your teacher, Maheshwarnath Babaji, led you to Sri Guru Babaji for the first time. Mahavatar Babaji for the first time. So, is he the same Babaji whom Yogananda refers to affectionately in the world-famous Autobiography of a Yogi? That's the same one. Yes. The bare-chested youth with long hair sitting in a
There is only position. One Sri Guru. See, the thing is, when Yogananda Paramahamsa said Mahavatar Babaji, what he meant was that here is someone or something, I say something deliberately, that has been there. Many avatars have come and gone, but he remains. You see, avatars have come, but he remains. I think
Yogananda said at least 500 years, if not more.
More. So he remains, and therefore he called him Mahavatar, which means great avatar. Now, in our parampara, which means our tradition, we have never used this word Mahavatar.
Only Yogananda, pretty much. He made it up.
After his time, it came on, yes. But there's nothing wrong with that. But what I mean is, we call him, he's always known in our parampara, also among the Nath Sampradaya, as Shri Guru Babaji.
Okay. So Shri
Shri
Guru,
Guru
Babaji.
Babaji is none other than the person or whatever being about whom Yogananda talks about in the Autobiography.
Many people call him mythical, but it sounds like what you're saying is he is the opposite of being mythical.
Yeah. Many people think that it is an idea and not a real thing, but it's much more real than the objective world that we see.
Can you still reach your own Guru Babaji by calling for him as he asked you to do? And can you also reach Shri Babaji?
When I say I am in touch, I mean Shri Guru Babaji. Because Maheshwarnath Babaji, he did his work
And then he died.
He left his physical body, and he is functioning perhaps in some other world or field where he has work to perform, and I am not supposed to interfere with him. But sometimes, rarely, I see him in beautiful dreams, and sometimes in meditation, which I consider as a visitation, a kind visitation. But I am not supposed to deliberately get hold of him.
Okay.
But Shri Guru Babaji, being, we believe, we know, Adinath himself, or what we call Paramashiva himself, is there everywhere. So it's not a big deal for him to come when you want.
That's amazing.
It's,
May I ask you a silly question? 80% of your teachers, as we said earlier, Shri Guru Babaji, Maheshwarnath Babaji, 80% of your teachers' gifts were transferred to you at Maheshwarnath Babaji's death. Will you pass these along to others as you go through your life? And the silly question is, do you have
not
any,
a silly question, it's a serious
the other idea is, do you have any idea what the 20% omitted was all about? What gifts do they possess that they did not pass along to you?
Yeah. This is not exactly the percentage that I just said that in a general manner, which means most of the things that were passed on to me are to help me in my mission. Anything that need not directly have an impact on my mission has not been passed on to me.
I see. They're not needed.
Like, for instance, I tell you, Shri Guru Babaji lives with his physical body for hundreds of years. I cannot do that. After a while, I will have to give up my body.
What if your Shri Guru Babaji wanted your mission to continue for another 80 years?
He can do that. But as of now, I have no such idea that he wants me to do that. Probably he will find somebody else. I'm not the best vehicle.
Your teacher talks about, this is hugely important to me, I discussed it with my wife. Your teacher talks about how possible it is to exchange thoughts. For me, it's a very serious subject. To read other
that
people's.
Again?
Your teacher talks about how possible it is to exchange thoughts, to read other people's thoughts, and he says, this is not mysterious. What does he mean by it's not mysterious?
Simple. You know, we have only one mind. We don't have different minds. We think we are all different minds, but we are only the same mind working through different centers. And if you have touched the core of that mind, then you can touch any center that comes from. But it's not always so. You do it only when you need to do it, especially for that person's good, not for any other purpose.
Can we learn to do that? Can others learn to do that?
Yes. The first requisite, of course, is that the mind becomes absolutely quiet. When the mind is absolutely quiet and still, then even naturally, you will suddenly find that other people's thoughts are reflected into your mind. First you wonder, I was not thinking about this, how did this? Then you know that this is coming from there. It's possible. So the first step for that is to keep your mind quiet, absolutely still. Plus, there is a safety precaution which has been put into this, which is, as long as a person is likely to use it for his own self, try as he might, he cannot go beyond 10%.
Just 10% of it. So it's very limited, even if you do become successful.
You can.
And deep
People
silence.
practice. There are ways of practicing. to give you a hint, first thing of course is that the mind has to be absolutely silent. I mean, it should, at given moment, you should be able to shut it down and relax. 2, the transfer of thought takes place from this center, from the Ajna Chakra. And the receiving center is the Sahasrara.
Both of which have to be open.
At least they should be active. Both are open, we are in moksha. I mean, there is nothing else to do. But at least they have to be slightly active.
Yeah.
So even when somebody sends a thought, it is sent as if it's being sent out from here.
Yeah.
And there's one secret about sending a thought to somebody. Don't keep on repeating and repeating the same thought like nagging. Just one shot, tuck, and forget
That's
about
it, huh? Well, my thought I'm sending you right now is that our microphone's covered by your shawl and I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Sorry.
There we go.
If you had thought a little harder, I would have taken it off.
On a similar line, tell me about, I don't know how to pronounce it, sumo, the breathing and visualization process that builds up heat in the human body, enabling you to live in caves in the wintertime. Can you do this? Obviously you can do this because you
do it. But we don't, when you can buy a shawl for 100 rupees, you don't waste your time doing tumo. But in an emergency, it's possible.
So in an emergency, if it's, let's say, I'm not quite sure what the Celsius is, let's say below freezing, you're in a cave and you have a shirt on.
You can survive.
You can survive.
Not only can you survive, I think you can probably start sweating, because you see, with the Tumo practice, when it is perfected, you know, the people who really practice Tumo are the people belonging to the Kagyupa sect.
Okay.
The Kagyupas, whose head at the moment is this young man who lives in Gangtok, in Dharamshala, the other not Dalai Lama, but the Karmapa.
Okay.
You see, he is the head of the Kagyupa sect, and the Kagyupa sect are descendants of the great Yogi Milarepa.
And they practice this?
Yeah, even Milarepa itself means in Tibetan language the cotton clad.
The cotton clad.
Yeah. So,
because that's all they needed was a little
that's
cotton.
all they needed. And they test it by trying in winter to dry wet pieces of cloth on their backs when they practice the Tumo.
They dry the cloth that's wet on their backs just because of their ability to increase the temperature of their body.
It needs practice, but it's basically using a particular bijakshara, sound. And in this case, it is the Muladhara. The Manipura chakra, which is in the navel area.
And it emits a sound.
That's the sound is rum. Just like in winter, some people stay warm with rum. This Bija
Different type of rum.
Here is rum. So you keep chanting rum, 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 and visualize a fire being built here and flaring out. And there is a special breathing technique for that. Rhythmic breathing.
And you had to learn it or you would have perished in the winter time.
Of course I would have perished.
Height that you were.
Although Babaji always looked after me. And we always usually had a dhuni, which is the fire, wherever we went.
I read many
but
times
still
about
it's
that.
not so easy like in Gomukh and Tapovan.
Another really silly question, forgive me for this. Why such emphasis on caves when perhaps you could have built a shelter, a little cabin, or a little cottage for yourself?
See, sitting in a cave has its own special significance. You can stay in a cabin and meditate, but it's not the same as staying in a cave. 1. 2, many of these caves have been used by great yogis in the past.
It's like a cathedral where a million prayers have been said.
Absolutely. And 3, many of these caves, being associated with great yogis who have lived, have contacts with other great beings who may come and go.
I see.
They may not come to our cabin.
Yeah.
You see?
You talk about having your Kundalini awakened, and of course everybody in the spiritual world that I've been around in the last 3 decades wants to have their Kundalini awakened. Are most of us destined not to have that happen because we haven't evolved enough?
Yes. And also it's not a good idea to force it.
I see. Well, it could be quite dangerous.
It can be terribly
To
dangerous.
those not prepared to expect what's going to happen.
Because you see, it's a tremendous energy. It's called Parashakti. Parashakti means primeval energy. The highest
it's
energy.
the most potent, inert, and not inert.
Not only in
basic.
us, it's the most potent energy which has created this world, and then after the act of creation has gone back and sat quietly in a certain location in our human system. So to awaken that is no joke at all. And you have to be prepared. It's like
and you better have a good teacher, I would imagine.
not only teacher, you should be morally sound, and you should have the strength to withstand what happens, because it's like a Hiroshima Nagasaki. It's no joke.
Well,
But these little pleasant experiences that one has through the practice of Kundalini Yoga, they are good. But the ultimate experience is tremendous. No human being can remain the same once it happens.
So you understand the appeal it has to those of us who are novices, who otherwise might say, I'm okay for this, let me experience it.
Yeah. But maybe you're not yet ready for it, or maybe you haven't found the right teacher, or there are so many maybes in this matter, because many of these things are not strictly black and white. There are many gray areas.
I'm sure.
Some of these things have been oversimplified.
Yes. And when your mental stability could be at stake if you're not doing
Very
it
much.
correctly.
I have seen people. I have seen at least one or two people whose Kundalini has been awakened, forced through Hatha Yogic practices. They are completely crazy. I'm not talking about the Avadutas who pretend to be crazy.
Well, a follow-up question on this very matter, because you yourself said at one point in your young life that you would commit suicide. I read it in your book. If you wouldn't be able to find a guru or a Mahatma. Why such a drastic stance?
It was in the beginning when I went to the Himalayas.
Isn't that daring the cosmos to strike you down and teach you a lesson?
One has to be 100% aiming for the truth.
Yeah.
And for that one should not even care for one's body. Then it comes. There's a stage when Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, after many days and 2 years of praying to Kali, but did not see her vision, he decided to end his life. Now that's not like ordinary suicide. People commit suicide because they didn't pass an exam or wife ran away and things like that.
This desire
This
might
is
have been
much more
murdered.
serious. This is a one-pointed seeking towards that goal, which you say even if your body goes, it doesn't matter. You have to find it. And otherwise life is not worth. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea to do that, but one should not imitate someone who did that and say, I'm going to die because I haven't found moksha, but how much effort have you put into it?
I want to go into the next area. I keep using these superlatives. This is the most, but this one is the most stretching of our credulity to the novice. I must ask you about Sarpaloka. You wrote about it. What was it like to meet the deputy chief of the Sarpaloka? Tell us about Nagaraj, the reptile, the snake, the spiritually advanced being.
I think I have written about it in the book.
No, you wrote just a little bit. And my question for you is to shade in a little bit that must have stretched your credulity when you saw this unfold.
Course.
And I would direct all of your people, all the people who are listening to this, to read every page of your book to absorb its meaning. But how did you withstand the mental test of not knowing if what you were watching was real or not when Sir Babaji welcomed this man, this being, this reptile, from not just another planet but a different galaxy?
I also know that this is one of the most difficult things to believe in the book. I know that. And deliberately I put it in, even though it is so difficult to believe, because I said, fine, I am going to say what I felt they can take it or leave it.
And you know this happened for real for you.
Of course, for me it's very real, because you have no idea, for a young man of 20 in the middle of the forest in the Arundhati cave, suddenly face to face with something which looks like a snake but speaks like a, it's like a comic book.
They even hissed to one another.
Yes.
Guruji.
Yes. So,
Babaji.
yes, Maheshwarnath Babaji.
Yeah.
So, and afterwards I have learned that there are many worlds. It's a height of arrogance to think that in this little, in this whole stellar system of which we are just like a particle of earth, to say that life only exists in this little earth is, I think, a very arrogant attitude for human beings.
Well,
to
that
take.
you conveyed that lesson very well. People have to deal with the vehicle in which the lesson is presented, the manifestation in which another being. We could far more readily, perhaps, say, okay, I understand how a being similar to us might come here, but the way you describe this being is what stretches the credulity for a lot of people. And I'm personally very happy you put it, because as a journalist, sometimes I have a quandary. Should I go into this area or not? But since you did it so bravely, I wanted to do it too, because it will cause people to come to a breaking
their
point.
barriers.
Yeah, to break through their barriers, or to back off and just stay in their own comfort zone. Yeah.
If they don't want. Because, you see, there are worlds where there are beings who don't look like us. And the Nagaloka is a world populated by highly evolved beings who are in the form of serpents. I mean, for me, it's not, I have no doubt.
No, you've seen it, so you have no doubt.
I have no doubt. Not only that, I haven't written about it, but later on I had 2 visitations to the Nagaloka. I have seen that it's populated.
So you've been there.
I went there.
That's not only, as I said, on another planet, it's in another galaxy.
It's another galaxy, it's another sphere.
And these are highly evolved spiritual beings who can change their forms, which I'll get to later.
Yeah. But you can't go there with your physical body.
So you are teleported.
No.
Okay, what word would you use then?
See, human beings have not only the physical body, but they also have a subtle body which fits into the physical.
Okay.
And looks very much like the physical, except a little more glorified than the physical. And it can, with proper training, leave the physical and travel. And most people, all people actually do that unconsciously in the night when they go to sleep. If you are clairvoyant by any chance, if you look in the night, on a clear night, you see little tiny threads coming out, lit threads coming out from every house and moving up and down.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That is...
I have imagined that happening, but with no basis of fact, because I'm not clairvoyant.
So you actually, these are we, meaning we who have left our bodies in deep sleep and are going to various places. But when you see a dream, it's usually a mixed up stuff that you have in your memory when you come back.
Very hard to make sense of it or even recall it properly.
Yes, yes.
You said in your book, I believe you said it in your book, that you experienced ridicule about talking about the Sarpaloka, about the experience of Sarpaloka and Nagaraj. Did you experience it in a wholesale, unlimited amount, or just a tiny amount? And are you worried?
What is that?
Ridicule about including in your book your experiences with Nagaraj.
No, I personally thought that this is too much to believe, stretching to things too far. But I said, let it be.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm very glad you did.
Who is it that is the essence of your being? Who is it that sees when I say I see? Who is it that hears when I say I hear? Who is it that speaks when I say I speak? Kene shitam patati prashitam manaha. What is it that lights up the mind? What is it that makes the mind conscious? What is it that makes me speak? Who is it that speaks? What is it that impels the speech? Who is the God who sits and sees through my eyes and hears through my ears? Manasana manyute, that which even the mind cannot conceive of or imagine. That is the essence about which the Upanishads talk about. And it can be learnt only in close proximity to the teacher. Shad means to sit. Shad also means that the mind has to sit down. When you hear with an open mind, without prejudice, when the mind has settled down, that hearing immediately affects a change. But when your mind is sensitive and listening and settled down to receive without any ruffles on its surface, clear cut, then when you hear, you are saying, look here friend, you are the essence of all beings. Then it strikes. So all sadhana is actually the preparation for settling the mind down.
Love all, serve all. How wonderful.
Totally. That was amazing. Love Shri M already. Yeah, very profound, extremely deep. Some of the stuff he was talking about. Yeah, you really got to stretch your mind, stretch your imagination to the possibilities. So, yeah, I think, Sabine and I are fortunate to be on like our journey. We've come across some of these teachings, so it's not totally new to us, like these other realms and planes of existence. And just, even in Buddhism, right? So the Nagas, they're known as, beings, right? So, when we were in Bodh Gaya, right, there's a statue, of course, in there with the Buddha meditating, and then there's the Nagas, right? So in there, they're sheltering the Buddha from the rain and whatever other perils, right? So the Nagas are protecting the Buddha. So, so the Naga realm, Nagaloka. Very cool, right? And you also got to think about, so these enlightened beings or mystics, right, who have these extraordinary experiences, and just the fact that he's very aware that a lot of people are going to be like, skeptical and turned off by that, but he's like, I included it anyways, right? Because if they're not ready for that, then they're not ready for these sorts of teachings, right? So the Nagas, this serpent is a very spiritual, being or representation, right? Even the Kundalini is the serpent in the spine, right? So I love what he said about the Kundalini yoga, because it's really, really popular all over the internet right now, and YouTube, and awaken your Kundalini, and awaken your Kundalini in 5 minutes, right? All these videos. Well, that can spell disaster for the seekers who aren't ready for that, which is why I really love so my main teacher, Dr. David R. Hawkins, he said, don't worry about your chakras. Don't worry about your Kundalini. That'll open and that'll occur naturally as you just, practice and seek the spiritual teachings, and, purify the mind and begin to quiet the mind and sit still. And, you're going to purify your karma. And then the chakras and the Kundalini, they take care of themselves. You don't need to force anything, right? So... But my favorite part of the video was when he just had that dust. Give me your hand. Little bit of dust. Little bit of ashes out of nowhere, right? Like, where did that come from? right? And then just the interviewer, just so shocked and wanted to keep, asking about it. Like, where did it come from? Well, where do you think it came from? Because his hands had nothing in them, and he's got no pockets that I could see. It was pretty instant, right?
Yeah,
So
I love those stories. Great.
yeah, and then even saying that, so his his guru Babaji, and then his previous guru and his guru's guru gave him 80% of their abilities.
Oh yeah, I didn't understand that either. So he
has.
Oh, when he touched him or something.
Yeah, well, just when they passed on, right? So when his guru passed on, he gave him 80% of his, spiritual abilities, his powers, probably his siddhis, right?
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's cool.
Which obviously had to be ripe for him in order to receive it, otherwise he wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like if you're not ripe, a guru can't just come to you and give you his abilities. It's not.
Yeah. And then the other thing, just talking about the seekers nowadays, and when he's hopeful because there's all of these students and seekers coming for teachings, yet no, there's none that are really ripe and serious and die hard. So
it's very sad. I don't know, it just made me really, really sad.
Yeah, me too. I was like, I wish I could have been there. I'd be your disciple.
No more YouTube channel then.
I'd abandon it all, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, just to show in modern times, and that's just it. It's rare, very rare. Like even the Buddha said, it's rare to be a human. It's rare to have heard of the spiritual teachings, and it's even more rare to pursue them, right? So to pursue enlightenment is, it's just so incredibly fortunate for those of us on this planet who are, right, to take advantage of this most precious human opportunity because, so we learn, obviously, I talk about Buddhism quite a bit, but I really want to stress that my favorite Buddhist teaching ever was just that, the precious human opportunity, right? Because then you got to take it in account, and then you got to explore that and see, well, is that true? Is being born a human like really so rare? And then, contemplate on it. And then what makes it so precious? Teachings, right? We can advance spiritually into these, realized beings, and we can be so grateful for the beings that have gone before us, to lead the way, and then we can seek the same liberation. And the other thing too is that liberation and enlightenment, like why is that so important? Why is it such a thing? And why do they call it liberation? Well, it's because, it's because we're trapped. It's like a prison. If there is a liberation, which is a freedom from something, then you got to look at, well, obviously we're trapped. Samsara, in ignorance and delusion. So if we're ignorant and delusion, wouldn't we want to escape that and understand reality? Yeah, totally. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about too, just with this video was, Milarepa, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Kagyu lineage, fantastic. So, because we spent some time in Kagyu Monastery, right?
Oh, Nama Buddha, yeah.
Nama Buddha, yeah.
But also we sat in a Milarepa cave.
Oh, yeah, totally.
We did pilgrimage, which was a very intense pilgrimage.
Yeah.
I was so sick, but I put effort in, and we got me up to the cave. I was pulled by Roger. Another monk helped me. It was an incredible journey. But we made it, and we sat in the Milarepa cave and
sat there for a few hours, and then the long journey back. But that was,
and then I was fine. So I was really, really sick going there, and then we sat in the cave, and then I was running back. I was I was good again. It was extraordinary.
Totally. We have some pictures. We should post some in this video. So.
Yeah,
cool. So Milarepa.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, amazing. And then the tumo. So the tumo, yeah, just building up that heat, right? And that reminded me of Wim Hof, right? So
Yeah.
obviously Wim Hof learned some of these teachings, and now he's like bringing it to the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very cool. Good.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us with this amazing video. And once again, thanks for the request. We loved it. I love Shri M. So yeah, so grateful and fortunate. So yeah, if you like this video too, please hit that like button. Remember to subscribe. It really, really helps the channel. Let us know what you think down in the comments. And remember, raise yourself.
And raise the world. Thank you so much, everyone. And a very special thank you to all our members. We love you.
Peace.